Hello everyone, Bula Vanaka. Welcome to another edition of Clarkie's Corner, our weekly podcast. I'm Greg Clark, and joining me this week are my two fellow commentators, Kara Koroi from Gold FM, Fiji and FBC, and Sam Wykes from That Sports or Pacific Sports Show that is seen right around the Pacific each week, and also Nesian Footy, which is heard right around the Pacific. I can't keep up, but Bula to you both. Kara, how was the sideline experience at Lautoka, first of all? The Swire shipping Fijian Drua versus the Blues last Saturday.
And Clarkie and Sam, I thought the whole day was incredible. I think that's got to be one of the hottest Super Rugby Pacific matches at home. Lautoka is usually known for its hot conditions, and boy, were we roasting. But lucky to get some shade and cool breeze afterwards. I mean, great crowd, amazing turnout, considering that we had another huge event held in Suva on the same day. We had the Fiji Finals, which is the Fiji Secondary School athletics meet that we have annually. But we still had the numbers on Saturday, so it was pretty cool.
They made some noise, no doubt about that, and it was hot. And Sam, you're a frequent flyer on Fiji Airways like me nowadays, and Fiji's really starting to feel like our second home, isn't it?
It is, mate. Fiji Airways is looking after us well up there. I love flying with them over to beautiful island, and it does feel like a second home, especially in that little commentary box, both in Suva and in Lautoka, calling the game next to you. But yeah, really enjoying it.
Now, the Blues 30, Drua 14, not the result the big crowd or the Drua players and staff were hoping for in Lautoka. The first loss at home season. Kara, what are your listeners telling you? Are the fans still prepared to ride the ups and downs?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, very much prepared. It's only their second season, but they've really pulled up since they started. And I believe that there's a mutual understanding that the Drua is capable of winning every game. But obviously, have certain areas to improve on, as we've seen. And the expectation from fans in Fiji is pretty fair. Everyone wants a win, that's a given. But there are lots to expect. I mean, Blues came out tougher in the end. The support for the Drua is still strong, though. They're fairly new, with just one player being the Moose captain. That's Frank Money, and 3 days, I suppose. But the general feeling in Lautoka last week was win or lose. We watched our favorite Super Rugby teams play. We all go home winners. We did notice the crowd pretty hyped with lots of energy, and of course the deafening roar from whenever a try is scored is something that most of us look forward to at every Super Rugby home game, because it can be moving. So we're sort of expecting another huge turnout this Saturday, and the same.
Now, Sam, I thought the Blues were very good on Saturday. They slowed the game down wherever possible to stop the Drua from getting any real momentum. They were able to manage the heat a lot better than the Crusaders and Rebels as well, weren't they?
Yeah, they did. I think they were very clinical and they were patient. And as you said, they slowed the game and played on their terms. That's probably why they handled the heat a lot better, because off the backbone and back's kicking game, he kicked long and turned the Drua around. And when they did that, he put pressure on their back three. Celestino Taman, we saw one of his kicks. It just went off the side of the boot. Only got a net gain of about 15 meters. So every single time it went to a set piece, the slowed things down and were very patient with the ball, and it played in their favour throughout the 80 minutes.
Kara, the Blues appeared to have some good support in the crowd in Lautoka as well. We have to remember that Fijians are fanatical when it comes to rugby, and they've had their favourite teams long before the Drua came along. Some good Fijians have played for the Blues previously, Joeli Vandiri, Rafini Vanambutha, Joe Rokafoko, the two Waisakis, Naholdo and Tutu. So with big names like that, it's pretty obvious that they had plenty of support over the years.
Yeah, that is true, Clarkie. And I guess I speak for every Super Rugby Fijian fan that while everyone's got their own favorite team, they're surely Drua supporters at heart. Super Rugby in Fiji is pretty huge. And this was from the very beginning when Fiji hosted Chiefs and Crusaders back in 2016 and every other Super Rugby match after that. Now with the Fijian Drua in the competition, we still have fans of visiting teams too. So it's not entirely a one-sided affair. I mean, you saw how many Blues flags in Lautoka there were last week. And then you had some fans turned up, some specially crafted fans for some members of the Blues squad, and the Sulu Wakatona, the Sulus as well, were also gifted to some of the Blues players. And then you had large groups of people with matching outfits or kalabatas that had an image of the Blues player they were supporting at the match. And you had those that came with Team Sotutu and Team Soane printed on their shirts, and I thought that was pretty cool. Truly memorable for the Blues players as well. First match in Fiji and their first win as well.
Sam, with the likes of Beauden Barrett, it was his 300th first-class game. Incredible. Rico Ioane, Caleb Clark, Hoskins Sotutu, Dalton Papali'i, and Offa Mangafasi in the Blues lineup. were the Drua players overawed at any stage? Because we hear the coach Mick Byrne reflect on the initial season where some of the players were looking for selfies afterwards with some of their heroes. Now they're in the big league, Super Rugby Pacific. So did you think there was any moment where they might have been a bit overawed?
No, I don't think so. I think the way that the Drua play, yes, they respect and love the fact that they're probably sharing the same field with some of those superstars, but at the same time, as Kara mentioned before, that the boys want to win, and they've proven that they can win against some big opposition. I just felt it was just the Blues just playing the right game plan against the Drua, especially in Fiji. We spoke about it being patient, long kicking game. Don't try and get sucked into Fijian style of footy in Fiji, because as we've seen with the Crusaders, the Rebels, it just doesn't work out well for you.
And Kara, the Drua are in a difficult situation at times, aren't they? Because the fans are screaming for them to that traditional Kiwi style. But it should be obvious that they have to do the basics first before turning on that razzle dazzle that we all love.
Well, they can be very good at times, Clarkie, but they failed to capitalize and missed a lot of opportunities. That cost them the game. And come to it, they defended most of the time. And when they had the ball, they lost it too many times. Lineouts weren't so great, and that allowed the Blues to take advantage. And that spoiled the Drua's winning streak at home. The Blues did that.
And Sam, some stats from the weekend. The Blues, on average, they concede around 4 tries a match. The Drua the other day, in fact, not tries, they concede about 4 line breaks a match. The Drua the other day actually came up with 7 line breaks, which was quite incredible, but obviously the execution wasn't on. They only scored 2. But the Drua scrum and the line out wasn't up to scratch last week. Is a week a long time in rugby? Is it long enough to fix those problems?
I think they can, but when we look at the line out side of things, it's probably been their Achilles heel over their 2 seasons that they've been playing. I just feel like they probably to have a look at what outcomes do they want from their lineouts. So how they want to play. If their best lineout is playing off short mans, 4 mans or 5 mans, where they feel like that's where they win their best quality ball, go with it until for the whole time, and just have little variations from it and just use your strengths. At the end of the day, you just want to have the ball in your hands. You don't want to turn over a ball cheaply, because I think the longer the Drua have the ball, as you said, those lines will come no matter how good someone's defense is. The longer they have the ball in the right parts of the field, they're going to score some tries. So, yeah, I think that platform around line-out time, find out what the best line-out is for them and just play to it and just have a couple of different variations. Scrum time, I feel like that was just an off week for the Drua, but they're usually really good in that area. It might be a matter of Mick Byrne having a look at personnel, which people will suit, for tight head or loose head, because I think Ika Nevede is probably the best hooker going around at the moment. He's having playing some really good footy. Both his lineouts have improved, but I just think he's definitely the mainstay hooker, but just a matter of what he's going to do at loose head and tight head.
Yeah, comments there from Sam Wykes, who has been a line-out jumper in about 100 Super Rugby games over the years, packed down at a few scrums as well. Kara, despite the loss, there were some encouraging performances by the Drua players. Hoover, player of the match, Elia Thanakavata, really standing up, isn't he? He got 2 tries on the weekend.
A great man. Was pretty nervous when we were about to have that post-match interview with him, but 2 tries, and I'm pretty sure that he's proud of that. I mean, he played in the World Series for a bit before jumping to 15s rugby. His inclusion has made an impact, and he's proved just that after scoring the only 2 tries against the Blues. And many would like to see more from him in the future.
Well, we head to Suva this Saturday for another 2 p.m. kickoff, local time, this time seconds. Sam, we watched a lot of rugby over the weekend, and the Canes got the job done against the Brumbies in Wellington, but the Brumbies might have been hard done by at times. Nevertheless, the Canes will be able to beat again.
They will be. I think what the Canes have shown is they can score points. They've had some high-scoring matches, and on the flip side, they've actually leaked a lot of points too. So this week in Suva, it could be a triathlon over there, because we know that the Fijian Drua can score some points as well from there. So I think it's going to be highly entertaining this week.
And Kara, at the time of this podcast, we don't know if the Canes will rest any of their big guns in this Rugby World Cup year, where rotation seems to be a big thing. But what sort of support do they have in Fiji compared to the Blues, Crusaders, Chiefs and the Highlanders?
Clarkie, any Super Rugby team would get the support from a Fiji home crowd, that's for sure. With the likes of Adi Savea, Jody Barrett, and the others, fans are surely going to be loving, the fact that they're just there to watch these big, amazing players. And you've got some Fijians in the case as well. You've got Kiki Naholo, younger brother of Waisake Naholo, and then there's Saleh Reasi, the son of former flying Fijian Felipe Reasi. And let's not forget Isaiah Leawere, the son of another great rugby player and former captain of the flying Fijians, Kele Leawere. So it's going to be good, and it's going to be great fun.
Yeah, there are Kiwi connections and there are Fiji connections everywhere throughout the Super Rugby, no doubt about that. Now, Sam, what do you want to see from the Drua in Super this week from a win?
Yeah, I think it's probably just managing the area of the game just around the kick battle. How do they do that? How do they master that part of the game when it is not their style? Like it puts a lot of pressure on, I guess, the forwards and stuff if they have to turn around and run back and the kicks haven't gone where they need to go, or they try and run it out of their half and there's a strong kick chase line in front of them. I think if they manage that part of the game and just get that bit right, I reckon everything else is going to flow on from there.
And Kara, we are hoping for a sellout in Suva on Saturday afternoon. Remember, it's a 2 p.m. kickoff time local. Whatever the case, it's going to be a great atmosphere again, isn't it? We've had a couple of cracking games already over, this short period where the Drua have been in Super Rugby Pacific.
My apologies. It always is a great atmosphere, Clarkie, because I'm based by the sideline. I get to hear, see, and feel a lot of that and more. It can be dramatic at times, but I'm already pumped. We're experiencing occasional showers in Suva at the moment, but I'm hoping that that's not going to be it's not going to be a wet holiday. I'm just keeping my fingers crossed.
Yeah, we all are. Now, Drua fans, get in early, purchase your tickets, go to the website for all the ticketing info. Drua.rugby is the website. If you can't pre-purchase, well, make sure you get to the ground nice and early on Saturday to avoid the long queue at the ticket booth. Now, before we talk about this week's games, let's check the results from week 10 of the Shop and Save Super Rugby Pacific. Hurricanes 32-27 over the Brumbies. The Waratahs got there in just 21-20 over the Highlanders. Moana losing to the Rebels. Rebels winning that one 43-33. The Chiefs 34-24 over the Crusaders. So Chiefs still unbeaten. Reds 31, too good for the Force 17. And Kara, it was culture round last week, and I thought the Drua jersey was an absolute hit.
It really is, Clarkie. I'm looking to get myself one. I love feature on it, thanks to Anareso Mumu, the renowned artist who came up with everything. He mentioned in an interview that the ideas came to him naturally. He felt compelled to create designs that would reflect powerful values of the Fijian Drua. And I thought that it was really good. The focal point of the Masi design is a traditional Fijian sail, which is the lava, wrapped around a guiding star, symbolizing the journey of the Fijian Drua as a club. And then you also have the waves of the Ua, representing the collective wishes of the people of Fiji, or the Vanua, for the Drua to sail on relentlessly despite challenges and struggles along the way. There are other designs of the jersey, and each of them have a significance that relate to the Drua, the people, and the culture. So pretty rich, very powerful values as well, and great significance behind it. You should get yourself.
I'm looking forward to it. Now, Sam, week 11, Friday, Highlanders and the Chiefs in Dunedin. Highlanders are 8th. They're on 15 points. Chiefs are 1st.
I think it's one of those games where this will be a true test, because if they are the true favourites, they'll put the Highlanders to the sword and make sure that they don't get complacent in this game, because the Highlanders, as we know, they love being underdogs. And if they get a sniff, they're going to be tough to beat. But yeah, I feel like this is a really crucial game for the Chiefs to make sure that they are the real deal. And
Kara, are you on the Chiefs bandwagon like so many people are nowadays?
Well, I'm going to remain objective at this point, but I do know that they are doing such a great job at the moment, and anything apart from a loss is what they're aiming for at this particular point in time. And I'm pretty sure that all their fans, not only the fans in New Zealand, but the fans in Fiji as well, are gunning for the Chiefs to win this one.
Now, it's a massive Saturday again. The Drua versus the Canes in Suva from 2 p.m. local. The Drua have slipped to 11th on 13 points, but there's only 2 points separating 8th and 11th. The Drua's failure to pick up a bonus point is hurting them. And, if that try from Masi would have been allowed, and I think it should have been allowed on reflection the other day, they would have got to pretty close to picking up a losing bonus point, but it wasn't to be. The Canes, they're 3rd on 31 points, and they're looking good for a top 4 finish, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. They're very impressive. I think it's continued on from their NPC. They won the competition there last year, and some of those players are really coming through. Like Omua, their hooker, he is a special talent. I think he's been biding his time for the All Blacks jersey, but I think for the Hurricanes, they are looking the goods. But as I said, they leak a lot of points, but they also score a lot of points as well. So it'll be one of those ones when it comes to that pointy end, how their defensive systems hold up.
Are you tipping an upset, a win for the Drua, Kara?
Oh, yes, definitely. Always. Whenever it's a home game, it's a win for the Drua. And of course, when they play away from home as well.
Now, Saturday also, the Crusaders are at home taking on the Force in Christchurch, both looking to bounce back from losses. Crusaders going down to the Chiefs, the Force lost to the Reds. Crusaders have slipped to 5th, Force are on 10th position, 13 points. And like the Drua, they're still very much in the race for that 8th spot, Sam. So your old team, one of your old team, the Force, it's going to be tough though, isn't it, across the Tasman?
It's going to be very tough. I think the closest the Force has ever come over in Christchurch was a 26-all draw from memory back in 2008 or 9, one of them. And then the other ones have been pretty big scores. Very tough place to play footy. I feel like Christchurch is one of the hardest places to play rugby. It's just there's something about it where it's tough to get the win. You know, the Force are going to have to be playing out of their skins to be able to get something out of this, and then I feel like the Crusaders will have to be off a little bit. But coming off the back of that loss, it was a great game against the Chiefs. I think they're going to be pretty hungry to make sure they stay connected with that top 4.
Saturday, it's the Blues up against Moana. This one at another very hard place to play rugby, Eden Park in Auckland. Blues are now 4th, Moana 12th, and yet to win a game. Do you see an upset coming?
I can't. It's a shame that the Pacifica haven't got off to the start like the Drua have with the style of footy that they're playing. I think it was a pretty disappointing crowd last week that showed up at Mount Smart against the Rebels. Hopefully this week I'm sure there's going to be supporters in both camps, Blues and the Moana Pacifica team. Hopefully they show out in numbers and show support for the Moana Pacifica, but I think it's going to be a very tough game for them this week.
Also on Saturday, it's the Reds and the Waratahs. No love lost between the two great Australian states and teams at the moment. It's in Townsville, North Queensland. Reds are on a roll. They're in 6th spot. Tars are 7th, 2 points separating them. We've said throughout the year, privately and also publicly, Sam, that we think that the Waratahs are a better team than their position on the table shows and the play shows, but they're running out of time, aren't they?
They are. It seems like once they get their win, you go, is this the game where they really kick on from there? Because they have a really good team on paper, the Waratahs. They want to stay connected with the top 8, and it's very congested, that area, that 8th, 7th, and 6th spot. But it is the grudge match. It is the head of origin for rugby union. There is no love lost. It's going to be physical. Those two teams will be going at it, and there's also wallaby spots up for grabs where they'll be looking at the back row from both teams to see who's going to stake their claim in at Test match time.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting how it all pans out. Michael Hooper, the veteran, the former captain, the great Michael Hooper, well over 100 Test matches, but he's got the young bull, Fraser McWright, breathing down his neck. So that's going to be an interesting battle there. Not to mention, right across the park, Billy and Eddie's going to keep a close eye on that one, as well as the other game in Australia, which is a Sunday fixture in Melbourne. It's the Rebels up against the Brumbies. And Rebels beat Moana last week in Auckland. They're 9th. Brumbies lost to the Canes, but are still 2nd on the ladder thanks to a losing bonus point.
I've been really impressed with the Melbourne Rebels this year. I know they probably would like a few more wins, but I feel like the turning point for them was that Hurricanes game in the second half when there was a little bit of a scuffle going on, and they really showed, okay, we need a man up here and not get pushed around and bullied. Carter Gordon, he is definitely my smoky for Wallabies 10, bit of Larkham about him, I would say. He's got that, is rugged. I think he's been steering the Melbourne Rebels around the park nicely, and I think the more games he plays at the top level, the more instrumental he will be in coming years. And I just love the way that they're playing. Obviously, the Brumbies are playing their traditional style of game. They just more scrums. They just do everything so well. Unlucky not to come away with more points against the Hurricanes last week, but they're all class. So I feel like this is going to be a really good game.
Yeah, so you've got the young tens, you've got Gordon and probably Lolosio if he's selected. And there's a lot of talk about the fullback. So Andrew Callaway, who prefers fullback rather than wing, I believe, playing for the Rebels. And, of course, Tom Wright, with no Tom Banks at the Brumbies in 2023. Every week he's just showing the class that he's got, and he's settling into that number 15 role pretty well.
Yeah, you're right there. I feel like Callaway is probably like the perfect number 10 for test match footy, because I feel like he's got the right balance in his game for game management, knows when to run, and he's lethal with his running game. He knows how to kick. He plugs the corners nicely when he needs to, and he's got a good passing game. He's got really good vision, and defensively he can hold his own. Whereas Tommy Wright, I feel like he's probably a little bit more erratic, but it works for him because he likes to try things. Doesn't want to be too scripted. You just see him, he might do a little chip and chase here and there, and he gets the bounce. So, again, when it comes Wallaby selection, these two going at each other, two different style of players. Be interesting to see which style comes out on top.
Yeah, you mentioned 10 there, but of course you mean 15 for
15. Sorry, yes, 15.
Yeah, for Callaway,
yeah.
And he's also part of the Wallaby leadership group as well. So that's not a bad little leg up when it comes to Wallaby selection later in the year. An interesting selection also is, I believe Bernard Foley is also part of the Wallaby selection group, and he's not playing Super Rugby Pacific. So obviously he's still in the reckoning there as well. What about the Rooster Chicken Fijiana Drua? They turned the tables on the Waratahs in Super W to reach the grand final for the second year in a row. An amazing turnaround for Fijiana. Not many gave them a chance to win the semi-final in Sydney, but came from behind and they did it. They won 20-17. Kara, it was very special for the girls.
Truly a special game, very special for the ladies as well. I mean, after consecutive losses away from home, it almost looked like they weren't going to make it, but the ladies proved everyone wrong. And what was just supposed to be a quiet Sunday afternoon turned out to be a very noisy one in Fiji once Fijiana put their game face on. Edge of the seat semi-final, and we're now looking forward to an action-packed grand final this week.
Yeah, and there's been some negative press around the finances in particular of the Fiji Rugby Union, and the Drua women gave us something to smile about, and they took over the headlines. Thank goodness. Fijiana Drua played the Queensland Reds in the decider. It's being played before the Reds and the Waratahs Super Rugby Pacific game in Townsville, Saturday, 4:45 p.m. Fiji time. That is right after the Drua and the Canes. And organisers probably thought it'd be a Queensland, New South Wales doubleheader. The Reds did their job downing the Brumbies women 23-20, but Fijiana spoiled the party. Now, Sam, the Reds women will be tough, but it's in Townsville, not Brisbane. Fijiana won't mind that extra heat in North Queensland.
You're not wrong. And just on that, Sarah Naiguama, of course, the lock for the New South Wales Waratahs women's team. She's on that Pacific Sports Show as well. And Monday morning when she came in, wasn't happy about the result of the weekend, because the expectation was that they were going to the big dance, and they weren't prepared for an early sort of celebration, or not celebration, on that Sunday afternoon. They got off to a really good start, 17-0, and man, that was unbelievable scenes at Concord Oval, seeing the Fijiana Drua come back. But as you said, up to Townsville against a classy Reds team. They've been impressive, the Reds. What I loved, Helena Young on the wings for the Reds. She's very special. They throw the ball around. Very similar style of play, I guess they like to play with. Let their wingers score a lot of tries. But I think with the Fijiana team, the powerhouse is Russellia, like their props, being able to take some of those taps from set piece and just getting it up nice and straight, real physical, especially close to the line. We saw her get over the try line last week. I think they'll be looking for more of that.
Who's going to take the credit for Russellia's form? Her brother? He's an old teammate of yours at the Force.
Yeah, Big Junior. I think he will take some of that credit there, because I'm sure that he would have been, a bit of a bully towards her in terms of when they were playing in the backyard. But obviously, very talented family.
Yeah, and go back to Sarah Nagami, your colleague there on that Pacific Sports Show. Did she say that the women also have a Mad Monday?
Yeah, it was. It was unplanned. Usually, I think they were planning for the week after. So wherever they were going to host it, they've had to cancel it and just improvise for what happened on the weekend. But they did have a few drinks just to sort of lick their wounds. And yeah, they'll go again. It's a week off for them now. It's for them to think about it.
Yeah, and Kara, you really just have to be very proud of Fijiana Drua, because they lost players to rugby league. They lost players to other teams in Super W. Some players went to Japan, I'm told. So it was almost a complete rebuild. And yet they've done it again. I mean, that's just an amazing turnaround. And, win or lose on Sunday in the final, they've done their nation proud, haven't they?
Yes, they truly have, Clarkie. They've come a long way, and no one saw a women's team joining the Super W competition. So for them to debut last year and take down the winner and become winners at the end of it was really special, truly special. And despite everything that's happened to them, the players being taken away, poached by other teams, I don't blame them, really. They're really good players. They've got some really incredible players in the team. So for them to rebuild, like you mentioned, and start over, and reach this far where they're ready to take on the grand final is something amazing that Fijians will never ever forget. And also with women's rugby slowly coming up to that level, it's something that needs to be talked about more. And a lot of young girls are going to be watching the Fijiana players play, and whenever they do, they feel inspired and they want to take this on. So it's not only a man's game. So that's truly something that people should remember and talk a little bit more about in Fiji.
Yeah, well, good luck to Fijiana in the Super W decider against the Queensland Reds on the weekend. Sam, before we go, that competition ladder at the moment, the Drua, they're in 11th, but they're still well and truly within striking range to finish in the top 8. This is the last of what has been a pretty hectic block. They played on the road, the Brumbies, and then the Chiefs, and then they had the Blues in Lautoka, and now it's the Hurricanes. No disrespect to the rest of the teams that is going to play, but that's a fairly tough block, isn't it? That finishes in Suva.
Yeah, it is. I think when for coaches and players, when they prepare for a season, they look at the whole season and sort of see how many points they can get from each block. So that, like, ideally, you want to win every game, but reality is it's probably not going to happen. So what they would have targeted out of this block was trying to get points. Unfortunately, they haven't got many losing bonus points out of it, which they would have liked to keep them in touch with that top 8. But as they go into this next phase, they'll be looking at wins at home and a couple of maybe a losing bonus point if you're being realistic with, say, for this weekend. It's going to be tough against the Hurricanes. They need to come away with points, whether that's a win or whether that's within 7 points of a losing the game. And then after that, they need to target those wins to be able to, cement that top 8 spot.
And it's a quick turnaround because they've got a Friday night contest the following week against the Force, a big trip across to Perth, but two teams that are around about the same area on the table. Then it's another tough one in Sydney against the Waratahs, who haven't had any real trouble downing the Drua in the 2 matches that they've played, or the 3 matches they played so far. So that game's in Sydney. And then, of course, they finished back-to-back games in Fiji, Moana in Lautoka, which is winnable. And then, who knows, it's the final game of the regular season against the Reds in Suva. Hopefully it'll be 30, 35, 40 degrees, and maybe the advantage will go the Drua's way. So that's what's still to come. Best of luck to the Swire Shipping Fijian Drua when they take on the Hurricanes in Suva on Saturday afternoon. And I will be in Suva to call all the action with Sam Wykes and Kara Koroi, our special guests on Clarkie's Corner podcast this week. Thanks, team. We'll see you on Saturday, if not before.
Thanks, Clarkie. Looking forward to it.
And thank you all for checking in this week again. I'm Greg Clark. Bye for now. Maube.
Maube.